the human.
Thanks to Hollywood, this is our image of artificial intelligence. Someone!
Surrender, human.
We imagine AI taking over the planet, dominating mankind. But what is the real picture? What is artificial intelligence? What? What?
Get the human.
Your Honor, and nothing but the truth.
Honey, would you like some coffee?
Yes, please. Is it my turn?
I'm still thinking.
Alan Turing is considered the father of computer science and artificial intelligence. In 1950, he wrote that a computer would deserve to be considered intelligent if it could convince a human being that it was human. Before I try to understand artificial intelligence, I first want to better appreciate natural intelligence. So I'm here at the Singapore Zoo to get face-to-face with some of nature's most intelligent creatures. Orangutans are one of mankind's closest relatives. I don't know about you, but when I see some of my own human relatives, I don't always see intelligence. But when I look at these guys, and see the spark behind their eyes? Wow. More intelligent animals should be able to learn more and to solve more complex problems.
Right now, the orangutans are enjoying their puzzle feeders. Based on their intelligence, they have to figure out how to get those nuts to enjoy it.
So it's like a test.
A test on their brains. In the puzzle, it's like a maze. So the orangutan has got to use a stick to push that nut until it gets to the hole, and then it drops down. But the next layer of that opening is either smaller or bigger, so the stick can't fit in. So they got to find another stick or modify the stick. So some of the orangutans outsmart by bringing 2 or 3 twigs of various sizes, so they don't have to go around looking for it. When we first installed the puzzle feeder, some of them took only a few seconds.
They outsmarted you.
Outsmarted us sometimes. So now we are trying to figure out how to outsmart them again so they won't do it so fast.
They're pretty amazing, aren't they?
Aping the way living creatures see and learn is the goal of a whole branch of AI, computer vision.
While a digital camera can take high-quality images, it doesn't really see or know what it's looking at. To the machine, it's just a bunch of code and data.
Processing. A group of zebras standing on top of a lush green forest.
But with computer vision, machines learn how to recognize what they see. And because this resembles how we see and learn, you can kind of call it artificial intelligence.
A giraffe eating leaves from a tree.
Yes, correct.
A herd of elephants standing next to a body of water.
Oh, yes.
32-year-old man with black hair looking neutral.
32 years old. How accurate. This is Annabelle.
Hi.
She and the good folks at Neural Bay have prepared a sexy demonstration for me to show me how a computer can learn to see and recognize things. And today we'll be training a computer to hunt for...
Boobies! Actually, no, to be specific, just a cleavage like this line here.
Otherwise known as a longkang. Why on earth are we doing this?
For fun, but basically it's to raise up, very serious topics about data ethics, data collection and privacy, and also implementation.
How did you teach the computer
Well, it's
cleavage?
It's a very, very human-intensive task, like what Yen is doing. He's drawing boxes around the image, just the part where the cleavage is meant to be detected.
Okay. You've been staring at how many?
2,000?
2,000 sets of boobies.
So let me give you an analogy as to why we are actually drawing these labels, right? So imagine a little girl, and you want to teach a little girl how to recognize a dog, right? You
Okay.
hold the little girl's hand and you bring it, go, girl, this is dog 1, dog 2, dog 3. So you point out another dog, totally different to the girl. The girl is gonna guess, right? You say, I think it's a dog. And that's where it's like, guess with maybe 80% certainty that that is a dog. So that's what we call the confidence score. So how do we increase this confidence score? You show the girl 100,000 images of dogs, right? And eventually, when she sees a dog, she's gonna go like, oh yeah, that is definitely for sure a dog.
For this experiment, they've trained a computer to judge when cleavage is socially acceptable.
We train this as acceptable, and all the way down here as unacceptable, and whatever's in the middle, we let the computer decide. We have a few clothing items right there, and you can dress Vivian Vicky.
So if she were to be fairly conservative. Okay, yep, acceptable, I agree. Okay, ooh.
Oh.
Wow. Put it down.
Still okay? Just
Okay.
keep going. We're getting the gray area right here.
Yeah, there we go. Oh.
I wouldn't want my kids in the future to kind of like see somebody walking around looking like that.
Oh, now it's acceptable. Okay, well, yes, it works.
It works.
It works.
Yes!
Yay! Well, I guess it's time to test it on a human being.
That's you.
Okay, because I don't believe my acting is like a mannequin, right? First button. Haha. Ta-da! Acceptable or unacceptable?
Unacceptable.
Oh, finally, thank goodness.
Yeah.
I was getting a bit worried. I thought I'm gonna have to take off my shirt.
If you walk out of your house like that, I'm pretty sure a lot of people will find this unacceptable.
Why? What's wrong? From now on, I will be walking out my house like this.
Hide your kids.
The computer scientists at the National University of Singapore claim that their robot can recognize common objects that you place in front of it. So I've brought some random things to put it to the test. Alexa, ask Jerry to pick up the rubber duck.
Okay, looking for the rubber duck. Hold on.
Well, the magic here is that even though Jerry has never seen any of this particular object, he has seen thousands of images, all sorts of different kind of objects. Just like humans as babies, after we see enough examples of them, we start to understand what animals are like and what toys are like.
Okay, looking for the red truck. Hold on.
By looking at thousands of images, it will be able to extract some kind of distinguishing characteristics that identifies the image.
So how has Jerry absorbed all this information?
It used to be that professionals, engineers, that would handcraft these features, points, edges or corners. And it turns out humans are not nearly as good as the machines to automatically discover these features. That's the latest advances in machine learning and deep learning technologies.
Advances in machine learning and vision have given computers human-like perception. They can spot a face in the crowd. Hello? I know you. They can see and anticipate oncoming traffic. It can even spot diseases.
At the National University of Singapore, researchers have trained a computer to differentiate cancerous cells from healthy cells.
It turns out that many diseases that we have all have a signature in the way DNA is packed. And inside this cancer cell nuclei, the packing of the DNA is very different.
Based on his discovery, Professor Shivashankar's team is using machine learning to analyze DNA packing in thousands of cancerous and healthy cells. With enough data and training, AI could enable pathologists to diagnose cancer in its early stages, when it's easier to treat but harder to detect.
If you want to do early detection, you need some AI-based approaches because it's very hard to detect visually, manually. It's like finding a needle in a haystack. But for early stages, it's a very subjective decision because I met with a number of pathologists. They told me that my brain is a machine. It has already learned. But that depends on the experience of the pathologist. But we need to eliminate this subjectivity.
The researchers say their technique is being refined and validated and could be used in clinics in 2 to 3 years.
We'll see you after this commercial break.
Another way AI is becoming human is through language.
How can I help you today?
But can AI give machines a sense of humor? These jokes are written by a computer.
Anita, I said no touching. Please put your hands up.
Another important aspect of intelligence is our grasp of language. An ape may be able to learn a few hundred words, but the average human knows over 20,000 words. Apparently. There's a huge gulf between zookeeper and zoo exhibit.
From birth till age 5, children learn languages at a rapid pace, and they don't need formal lessons. Human babies are like language learning machines.
Hello, I'm Terry the tiger. Are you Ollie the ostrich? Whoa, you're a heavy boy.
It's pointless to just sit the child down and teach a new language. It's not done that way. Yeah. It's more like immersion. So if you're washing your hands with your little girl, you say, 来我们去洗手. They hear 洗手, they get it.
See? This is paint. It's real paint.
There is this language acquisition device that's in there, and it's just able to listen to the sounds, deciphers it, makes sense of it, and makes use of it when it comes. So I would say language is often caught, not taught.
While learning languages comes naturally to most children, it's a much harder task for a machine.
Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.
Professor Francis Bond is a linguist who has, for decades, tried to teach computers to understand language.
Well, a lot of understanding language is common sense, and we have a lot of trouble getting computers to do that. Out of the many possible meanings, they'll invariably choose not quite the right one.
Okay, do you have any examples of that?
So here's an example of a sentence. You saw this, you read this, I saw a kid with a cat, and normally you build an image in your mind. But the computer says, I can combine these words in many different ways. So here we have, I saw a kid with a cat.
It's like animal cruelty. And child abuse. Let's not forget that.
So here, I saw a kid with a cat. Is a possible interpretation.
Using the cat as a telescope.
To overcome computers' lack of common sense, scientists program them to follow rules in line with how we interpret language.
To get a computer to do it, we have to build the framework that exists in your brain. But as you can see, just for a 2-word sentence, we're already covering the screen. In a 10-word sentence,
I know, right?
you might have 10,000 features.
Natural language processing is one of AI's hardest challenges, but companies like Microsoft have made breakthroughs. Microsoft say their AI can transcribe speech better than a human can.
For the first time in history, we exceeded humans' performance. Many people have worked on speech recognition on the so-called switchboard task.
Secretary of War,
We have 2 people having conversation naturally, and we need to transcribe the conversation as accurate as possible. If you look at the speech recognition on the switchboard, the error rate has been above 10% for almost like 25 years. We're able to really make that error come down from over 10% all the way to 5%. That is at the same level of you and me to transcribe a natural conversation on the same task.
Transcribing speech at human levels. How did that happen?
Through the deep learning, we're able to really learn from this huge amount of data, running many experiments using most advanced computing infrastructure. Those 3 things really form the core of speech breakthrough.
This prototype uses AI to identify who's speaking and transcribes what they're saying in real time.
This recognition model has been trained over time.
You don't need to really worry about, taking notes anymore.
The poor person who has to write down the minutes? Oh, well, you don't have to do that anymore. How convenient.
Accurate transcription is key to accurate translation.
Our remote teammate in China can see and hear a translation of this meeting.
On a sentence-by-sentence basis, for the first time, Microsoft Translation achieved the same level or better performance in comparison to professional people. This provided us with a framework for us to approach human level of performance for translation.
This translation app actually somewhat eradicates all language barriers, right? I'm in Chongqing's Hongyatong to try out Microsoft's translator. My Mandarin is infamously bad, so if it can help me, it can help anybody, right? Can I try it?
我能试试吗？可以试试。
Okay. Which one is spicy?
哪一个是辣的？
这个是麻辣的。
麻辣. Let's try it.
检查一下。
Wow, gosh. How much is it?
多少钱
？98一斤。
Is doing 9,481 pounds.
I'm sorry, Auntie, but that's too expensive for me. I want one bag.
我想要一个袋子。
好的，好的，这个一袋。
Okay, 谢谢. I managed to get some shopping done with the app. Was it perfect? No, not really. I think it only worked with very simple statements, but it's better than nothing, right? I wonder what he said. Could you say that again? I haven't got my app out yet. Are you ignoring me now? People nowadays.
So how can I help you? Hi, I'm calling to book a women's haircut for a client.
Natural language processing has enabled computers to talk like us, debate with us.
Allow me to respond to some of my opponent's most recent claims.
And even compose poetry. AI wrote this book of poems. I failed to love my own life, yet I touched the spirit in your eyes. Not bad, right? But there's a part of language that AI struggles with. Humor and sarcasm.
The science of humor is very underdeveloped. Why is one person funny and someone else not funny? We still really don't know.
Maybe I could challenge the computer to try and write some jokes for me.
Yes, we'll give you what we've got.
Uh-huh.
And if you can make them funny, anyone can make them funny.
In a few moments, I'm going to be going up on stage just before Kuma, and everyone's expecting Kuma. I'm really nervous. I have them written here. All our computer-generated jokes. Wish me luck. Hello, 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 ladies and gentlemen. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Don't worry, I'm not Kuma. I think you can tell the difference. I wear more makeup than Kuma. Okay, this is the first joke, guys. What do you get when you cross a frog with a road? A main toad. Nay, I would throw this card away, but there are two jokes on one card, so I cannot. So next one. When is a job not a job? What? When it's a you sure that's not a job? When it is a nose job. I like that answer though. Ladies and gentlemen, Kuma!
Thanks, Stupid computer cannot fight human being lah, whatever lah.
But what do you think of the jokes that I did just now?
It was really, really bad. It's not even about knock-knock jokes or even why did the chicken cross the road. It was so bad. It was so bad. It was like, whoa. I actually thought it's going to be like that because, it needs a human to relate to people. People want to relate with the humor. They want to relate with things about life, and a computer can't see that. You were funnier before you even started telling jokes.
Okay.
The jokes from the,
Okay, so slowly as it learns things like wordplay and puns, which you also do.
Yes, of course.
Do you think it will...
Never.
Confirm, never?
Never, ever, never.
But okay, then what if the computer just writes the script and you still perform it?
No way.
If Kuma...
I'd rather bleed to death.
So AI won't be a comedian soon, but it could be a doctor or a scientist.
She'll become as good as Einstein's or Newton's at science.
Actually, surprising to me, it's composed by artificial intelligence.
AI could even turn me into an artist.
So I can hang this up in a gallery?
You can try.
As an actor, I'm constantly confronted by new technology in theatre and the arts.
Let's play with our horns. That's interactivity, isn't it? Everything is so vivid. And we all get double.
They're really so close to you. It's like...
This experimental performance is run by Steve Dixon, the president of LaSalle College of the Arts.
Because you're line and line.
Hell is other people!
When he isn't acting like a maniac, Steve wrote the book on digital performance.
Artists always will look towards technology to see if it can really increase the spectacle and so on. Artificial intelligence is being used in lots of interesting ways in theatre now. I think one early example, and I can show you on video here, an artificially intelligent performer in the form of a large head called Jeremiah. So it has an emotional intelligence engine, but it is entirely AI. It isn't being operated by someone off stage. We will see more synthesbians, so either projected synthetic performers or robotic android type of performers. But I don't think the actor is ever going to be replaced. I think that human being will still remain centre stage. So your job
is secure in that.
Phew, thank goodness. Then again, I could be a robot.
My job may be safe for now, but other artists may be in for a shock.
You will be the third character.
In England, at Cambridge Consultants, researchers have trained a computer to create art. They call it Vincent.
Since it's called Vincent, I'm gonna try and do a Vincent van Gogh painting.
Go for it.
I'm gonna try. Drawing, anyway.
So you'll see what it's doing here is it's trying to interpret your sketches, the lines you add on, and as you're drawing. So we've trained it on 8,000 images from Renaissance art right through to 20th century. So it's got people like Jackson Pollock and Rothko in there. But all of their opinions and their styles and influences will be being used together to try and interpret the lines you make and create some art.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm gonna try and do something by Rothko, which is basically just sort of like...
It's ultra abstract, isn't it?
Like that. This looks like kue lapis.
Very good.
Tim was quite dismissive of my art. I think Vincent was more forgiving. I thought my drawings were quite good, weren't they?
And I would certainly say that as the more professional or the more talented you are, I think the better results that you can achieve.
Okay. So with this experiment that you have here, do you think this is going to change the future of art?
I think that you could say that this machine has some level of creativity, but it understands only a very small world. This machine only knows those 8,000 images, so its inspiration is quite limited, you could say. It might change the future of my art, maybe, but for somebody who's actually a good artist, I think not.
Simpler forms of this kind of AI let us make our selfies resemble artistic masterpieces. But I wonder what the arts establishment thinks of AI emulating the masters.
Actually, artists draw from diverse cultural sources.
The curator says Singapore's National Gallery houses a style of paintings that combines Eastern and Western influences.
This is a very good example of what we call the Nanyang style. This is a painting by Lee Man Fong and it's titled Balinese Life. And here we see an example of his use of Chinese ink painting brush techniques, but bringing in kind of the Western atmospheric perspective to give a sense of distance to the painting.
If you look at this face, it looks like it's from a Chinese painting.
Exactly, yeah.
Right?
Yes.
But then the way these ladies are reclined.
Exactly, it's taken from the Western pictorial traditions, the reclining nude.
So I have used a combination of styles, something very primitive, which is orangutans.
Wow.
Something very contemporary, which is a selfie of myself. And a style of painting which you could kind of describe as cubism, using artificial intelligence technology to come up with this.
Right, well, I think it's interesting. The composition, you know, we're having your self-portrait at the center draws our attention to it. And as you mentioned, it's also a kind of cubistic or a bit of surrealistic elements.
So I can hang this up in a gallery?
You can try. You may not succeed.
What? Okay, how can I improve myself?
When you make digital art, of course, it's not just using an application, because that's just a kind of a very formulaic way of working. I think for important art or art that's in, you know, kind of creative, we have to push out of these boundaries.
Will artificial intelligence aid artists in the future? Or will they replace artists?
Somewhere in between, whereby technology or augmented intelligence is used to collaborate with artists to make art.
Cool. All they need is a platform, and all this needs is a space. I'm gonna put it right here. Ken? Right here.
Yeah, let it stay there. It looks great.
Ken?
Can.
Okay. Enjoy, guys. Enjoy. Enjoy.
AI is going beyond visual art. This piece of music was created with the help of an AI composer called Iva.
Wow, what a stirring soundtrack. You know, it's very emotional. There are highs and there are lows. Strangely, it's all written by AI.
Iva is an artificial intelligence that has been taught music composition by reading essentially 30,000 scores of the great composers of history. So, you know, Mozart, Bach, Beethoven. What Ava looks in those scores is for patterns in the melody, in the rhythm, in the harmony. And based on those patterns, it will be able to create a model of what music is supposed to sound like.
On the screen is a representation of how Iva understands music.
This looks like a color blindness test.
Well, Iva definitely isn't colorblind when it comes to musical style. Each one of these points is a particular piece in our database, labeled here by, you know, the composer.
I would like Ava to compose a piece called Becoming Human. I would like something that can tug at the heartstrings.
Okay.
You know, something emotional.
You got it.
Yeah, I need one tear by the first 15 seconds.
That's, we'll try that.
Okay.
We'll ask Ava to do her best, but you know, that'll be subjective.
Iva composes original music in less than 3 days. Iva's registered with the French Composer Society and has a built-in plagiarism checker. She's written music for the city of Dubai, global corporations, and now me. Iva's latest composition, Becoming Human, is presented before a panel of music students and their teachers.
Kind of soothing, but also quite dramatic at the same time.
It seems to me as if I would have heard it before, and there were a lot of quotes from music that we had heard before.
It's like strange, a little bit strange.
I really like this piece, and it's actually surprising to me it's composed by artificial intelligence.
A bit of pain, but also at the same time some hope. The ending sort of leaves you wanting more of it, and I think that's a good sign of a well-crafted piece of music.
It did tug on my heartstrings a bit, I guess, because it was kind of like melodramatic. This piece of music, Becoming Human, may not be an appropriate soundtrack for this show. It's probably better for, like, Titanic 2.
AI isn't just mastering the arts, it's taking on science and medicine.
Welcome to Babylon. How can I help you today?
I've got a really bad headache.
Do you get any warning signs before your main symptoms start?
Babylon Health say they've taught their AI chatbot to think like a doctor.
Have you felt dizzy, unsteady, lightheaded, or like the room is spinning recently?
No.
The most likely cause of your symptoms is a migraine. For more information on possible causes and treatments, I've sent you a full report in your Alexa.
The text-based Babylon chatbot is already serving the National Health Service and 32,000 people in central London. Once Babylon diagnoses an illness, it helps you get medical treatment or a doctor's appointment.
The beauty of the app is if you click on book an appointment, we can see when the next video consultation is available.
Behind Babylon is a team of scientists, engineers, and medical specialists who train the AI with medical knowledge from textbooks and research papers. Their chief scientist says their AI can match human doctors at certain tasks.
When we compare the average accuracy in terms of a diagnosis of the AI against a set of human doctors, we're very close. But then when we consider triaging ability, that's the ability to tell a patient where to go to seek advice, stay at home, pharmacy, GP, the emergency department, our AI is already safer than a human doctor.
Could it one day surpass a human doctor?
Our aim is not to surpass or to replace human doctors. Our aim is always to augment the intelligence of human doctors with artificial intelligence. Since the AI is able to be kept up to date with the latest medical knowledge, and because we're able to see, hundreds of thousands of patients potentially per day, and so because of the application of machine learning, we expect that over time we should start to get close to the level of intelligence of a human doctor.
If an AI doctor is on the horizon, how about a scientist? Computer science pioneer Alan Turing theorized about AI at the University of Manchester. His successors at the university's Biotechnology Institute have created a robot scientist called Eve.
She's designed to automate simple forms of scientific research, not just the experiments you see physically happening here, but also the thinking and reasoning involved in science. She forms her own hypotheses, she thinks of experiments to test the hypotheses, and continues this cycle of scientific research.
Scientist Eve discovered that an antibacterial chemical in toothpaste also kills the organism that causes malaria.
Eve doesn't do anything which human scientists couldn't potentially do, but human scientists didn't discover it. It was her discovery.
How does Eve's intelligence match up with human intelligence? Because we regard human scientists as, being very smart, very knowledgeable.
Humans are not very good at reasoning about science, whereas it actually plays to the strengths of computers and AI systems. At the moment, Eve can only do very simple forms of science, but I think over time, with better software and hardware, she'll become as good as average scientists, and eventually, over time, as good as Einstein's or Newton's at science. That's my prediction.
Really?
AI as smart as Einstein? If AI outsmarts us, machines could take over our world.
We could totally lose control over them.
The next generation of AI could come from unlocking secrets in our brains and solving childhood mysteries.
I can see a lot of promise for artificial intelligence that learn like infants.
I just hope we can avoid a nightmare future. Help me! Dear Professor Tegmark, I read your book, Life 3.0, and had a bad dream. I dreamt I was kept in a zoo that was run by robots and AI. Help me!
Oh. Food feeding time! Bite me!
Do you think this could really happen? Yours sincerely, Enlai.
Thanks for your message, Enlai. I think this could totally happen. Because the reason that we humans have more power on this planet than the lions in the zoo is not because we're stronger, but because we're smarter. So if we build machines which are smarter than us, which I think we eventually will, then we could totally lose control over them. But it doesn't have to be a bad thing. We were all in the presence of smarter entities already, mommy and daddy, when we were little, and it worked out well, because their goals were aligned with ours.
If AI grows up to rule the world, I hope it learns from the best in humanity. With a lot to offer, just look how cute we are.
Nature inspires science. Just as birds' wings inspired aeroplane wings, brains inspire artificial intelligence.
MIT, the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, is home to the Center for Brains, Minds, and Machines. They draw on psychology and neuroscience to build intelligent machines.
I want to understand the brain, and if an intelligent machine comes as a consequence of that, good, but I would be happy either way.
The center's director is neuroscientist/computer scientist, Dr. Tommaso Poggio.
The founder of computer science, you can argue, was Alan Turing. He wanted to build a brain. He ended up building a computer. A good way to understand, to build an intelligent machine is to understand first the only example of intelligence we have, which is the human brain.
Well, Professor, talking about AI and machine learning today, how much of it is inspired by modeling the way our brains and minds work?
Deep neural networks have been real big advance in the last 6 years or so, suddenly making machine learning able to attain practical use, in terms of gadgets like Alexa or autonomous driving. And I think this is really the beginning of a golden age for artificial intelligence applications. Recent success stories. What is inside are these two algorithms, deep learning and reinforcement learning, and both of them come from neuroscience as an inspiration. Deep learning comes from a model from neurons in the visual cortex of monkeys. That's the basic architecture today of deep networks. And the other one is reinforcement learning. It's this trade-off between exploration and verification that you can use, or a mouse uses to solve a maze and go towards a food. And so I think if somebody asks me what is the next breakthrough.
Yes, what is the next breakthrough?
Right, exactly. I would say, I don't know. But I think it's a good bet to think that it will come also from neuroscience.
Neuroscience isn't their only bet. The center partners the Harvard Lab for Developmental Studies. Uncovering how children and infants learn could spark next-generation AI.
I can see a lot of promise for artificial intelligence from attempts to build machines that learn like infants, because such a machine, I think, would stand the best chance of developing something like our common sense. And if they'll be most useful if they can understand us and share our general picture of the world.
So how does the development of intelligence in children and infants inform the development of artificial intelligence?
There's lots of domains in which children develop intuitive sense, right? It's a domain of what we like to call common sense or naive physics. How do objects behave? What kind of actions do you need to perform on a set of objects to build a tower that won't fall over, or a bridge between two supports? So there's a whole domain of knowledge there. Really over the last decade, that I feel that enough information has been amassed that we really are in a position to develop computer models of human infant learning, which could serve as a basis for developing smarter, more flexible machines.
How confident are you that we may be able to create a truly intelligent machine?
I think is the greatest problem in science, making a machine, a computer that is as intelligent as we are. It will be a long time.
How smart AI can get is anyone's guess. There are many books and theories about AI's future impact. Here's best-selling author and futurist Max Tegmark.
All the recent progress in AI makes me wonder how far it's going to go. And I think about this question in terms of this abstract landscape of tasks, where the elevation of each task represents how hard it is for AI to do at human level. And the water level represents where AI is today. So that beach over there, for instance, represents driving. AI is improving, the water level is rising, and it's a really bad idea to try to make a career now out of being a driver. The tall tree out there might represent investing, which will take longer to get outperformed by AI. And then in the distance, I imagine tall mountains like art, cinematography, science. The really big question that keeps me awake at night is, will the water eventually flood all land? Because if we do, then by definition, AI can do all jobs, even the job of AI design better than us, rapidly leaving human intelligence far, far behind. Either going to be the best thing ever to happen to humanity or the worst. I want to work hard to make sure it's the former.
Well, there you go. Wow, va, va, boo. It's like animal cruelty. This journey I've had studying AI has been a real eye-opener.
Whoa, you're a heavy boy.
AI being able to make art. AI being able to make music. AI being able to understand many languages. And I think Turing would be quite thrilled by how far AI has come, right? But I don't think I will see robots that are smarter than me.
Bingo!
Not in my lifetime.
Stupid computer cannot fight human being lah.
As long as we use these tools to help us and not take over us, I think I'm good with that. What's most pressing when it comes to the use of AI is our ethical use of AI. What's right, what's wrong?
That's a question I seek to answer in my next AI adventure.
Order in the court. Court is in session.
Well done.